Hi, my name is Hector Del Castillo, Chief Product Officer at Bold PM. Welcome to tonight's meetup. The topic for today is we're going to be discussing product management trends and predictions for 2021. And I want to welcome all of you and all the participants to tonight's ProductCamp DC meetup. Today's discussion, we're going to be talking about specifically all of these things. We're going to talk about challenges, issues that have been plaguing product management teams before COVID-19 and then post-COVID-19, and which one of these specific challenges are expected, when most people are saying they're expected to be lasting well beyond 2021. In other words, even though some of these happen unexpectedly, removing any of this or eliminating any business risk or any risk to your product portfolio is not going to be overnight, right? Depending on the industry you're in and the markets that you sell into, recovery may take 3 to 5 years is what most everyone is saying. And that's going to be it may be a slow recovery for some, depending on the industries that you're in or the industries that you're selling into, your customers, and how they've been impacted by the pandemic. So we're going to talk about specifically also trends and predictions that will shape this year based on everyone being in mostly trying to recover, trying to bounce back, ready to accelerate back once recovery really accelerates. And so we're going to talk about specifically some of the skill sets that product managers will need for the next 5 years, as most companies that are going to be hiring product managers are going to need some additional talent that they don't really have, even though they may have lots of product managers within their organizations today. Because many of these organizations are going to get into new things that they've never done before. And often they will need to bring in new talent, and that includes new types of product managers. So we're going to talk about how to prepare for the market if you're looking to shift your career or move to a different type of industry market. This may be an opportunity as long as you prepare well with your skill set. So we're going to talk about that. So we're going to cover first current situation. Current situation is going to be, I'm going to talk about this into two parts. The way that product management was being perceived before the pandemic, and what people are saying that most product managers need to do post-pandemic until recovery occurs. So number one, and before I do that, I actually want to talk about some of the challenges, but I have a poll and I wanted to find out from you, if you can respond to this poll. I want to find out which of these has really impacted your business or your product teams today. And let me find the poll. Here we go. I'm going to launch the poll. There are 10 different things, and this is one of those select all the things that have been impacted your organization, your product teams. So number one, have you seen that post-pandemic, all of a sudden you have lost sales or delayed sales? You have lost customers, or you have customers have canceled orders that they had placed before the pandemic. Are you seeing a changing, a shift, a seismic shift in customer needs and priorities? Are you seeing changing dynamics in customer interactions, the way you interact with your customers? Are you seeing disrupted product launches, meaning they're either canceled or delayed? Are you seeing other delayed product milestones? Are you seeing reduced team capacity because you had to reduce your workforce? Are you seeing new remote collaboration requirements? Are you seeing supply chain disruptions? And you can't keep up with demand because your supply chain is disrupted. Are you seeing a changing competitive landscape? These are 10 different factors, and you may be impacted by multiple ones, not just one of them. So pick all the ones that are impacting your organization today, and then we can discuss this a little bit more. So I'll give you a few more seconds. And Steve, before I go any further, I wanted to find out from the clients that you've talked to, which ones of these have you seen from the clients that you've been involved with? What are they experiencing from these?
Well, certainly delayed or lost sales, at least during the first half of last year. Some of the companies I work with, I mean, completely had to pivot. I mean, they're like, our product is no longer relevant. I mean, think of those poor people who do event planning. It's like, the year was gone. So that's lost sales forever. Mm-hmm. Some companies like, video companies or video conferencing companies had a change of customer need. And in some ways, in an irritating way. I mean, like all the teachers in America got logged onto Zoom one day, and then we found out how technically illiterate teachers are and how mean-spirited teenagers are. So suddenly you and I are having to deal with all this extra security that we don't need, but apparently teachers don't know how to set such things. So they had, a lot of their roadmap was delayed as they had to, build in a lot of security features. Mm-hmm. I agree with, reduced team capacity is also a big issue that I've been hearing about, that, we're zoomed out. It's like, you're on so many calls, call after call after call. And I remember working with someone in Richmond who showed me her calendar, and she was booked solid from 7 to 7 and multiple meetings in many cases, double booking. And I don't know how she was doing it before, but certainly her feedback was, the team was probably at 70% strength. Mm-hmm. And some of that is just the new reality of, well, I got to run the kids to soccer, or I've got to, no, not soccer. I've got to run the kids to school, or I have to, take care of whoever, or in this particular woman's case, she had a toddler at home and no home care. So she was having to work her entire schedule around, nap time and stuff like that. So I'd say it'll be interesting to see at the end of the year if the federal economics people come along and say, we lost 50% of our productivity this year, not to unemployment, but just to, the changing work scenario.
Yep. And I think it's going to be interesting to figure out how to separate that from actual lost productivity in general, not just from, having an inadequate environment while you're working from home or working remotely. I think it's going to be interesting to find out how they're going to be separating that. But I think it's going to be more like forensic analysis, because, right now what I see is a lot of different employers struggling in different ways. And so I see that many of you have put multiple things like delayed or lost sales, canceled orders, lost customers, changing dynamics in the way you interact with customers, reduced team capacity, changing competitive landscape. These are just a few of the many. And so I wanted to I'm going to stop this, and I'm going to go back to the main presentation and talk about, these are 10 challenges. And actually these 10 challenges were published late in 2020 by Gartner. Specifically, they actually pinpointed out these 10 different things in the way that most product management teams were impacted, and the way product managers are dealing with any combination of these 10 different things. And that is the reality post COVID-19, right? Is that all of these things that you did not anticipate, they all happening all at once, and it's like a perfect storm, depending on the industry. And some industries have been impacted more than others. There are hospitality, for example, or anyone in entertainment, those and even travel, which includes airlines, car rentals, hotels, all of that. They're impacted at depression levels in North America, right? So it's going to take them, most experts are saying, airlines, hotels, it's going to be a long time, 10 years, if not longer, to try to get back to the way it was at the beginning of last year, before COVID-19. Others, not so much, because they're in a slightly in a recession, a brief slowdown, but yet you're still seeing some of these combination of things. And often it's a struggle on, no matter what you do, especially if all of a sudden you're in a process where now you're demand is much higher than you ever expected, and it's like 20, 30 times what you can do, what you and your competition can do. Those are long-term issues that need to be addressed. At the same time, in other ones, they've seen all customers, just cancel orders and not buying anything, and revenue is down, more than 50% what it was year to year, back in when you compare same period in 2019 or before. So it's a huge challenge for most organizations to figure out how to undo when you have a combination of these things, because this pandemic has been a perfect storm for most North American companies. There are a few niches that are growing, but also they had struggles because of disrupted supply chains, and they're just now trying to accelerate now. People that are, creating, for example, PPE equipment that you can actually wear for, even as you're being vaccinated. Most people are saying we will still need to be wearing masks. There's now more people than ever before selling different types of masks, but those are just very few niches, not the entire market. And it's not going to be enough to actually maintain the productivity or the real gross domestic product for US up from what it was a year ago. And so we're expecting that this is going to be a recovery of 3 to 5 years on the average for those that have not been impacted that deeply, but it's going to be much longer for industries and players that are large companies that are now is going to take much longer, like 10, 15 years to get back up to where they were in late 2019. So let's talk about product management challenges. Pre-COVID-19, here are some of the challenges that product managers had, right? And this is actually from a report that was coming out from, I believe this was actually either Bain or this is actually Product Board. So Product Board put out a report that they published sometime in almost a year ago. It was, I think, March, April of 2020. And this is what the challenges they found when they surveyed product managers. And these are product managers, from the executive level to senior managers to those that are in product management positions. And they did a survey of about a few hundred product managers. Here's the number one, the top 3 issues. People are reporting that defining goals and measuring success is hard for product managers and their teams. In other words, there's no clarity as to, what are the objectives and how are you going to measure performance. Number 2, setting a clear product vision and strategy and be able to execute it is a big issue. And number 3, prioritizing the right products and the right features or functionality to implement to current products. So this impacts not just new products, but it also impacts current products and how to improve. So when you have a team and you have lots of products and you can't do these 3 effectively, that's not your performance is not going to be very good no matter what you do, right? Because you may be growing revenue, but you're not necessarily improving the profitability of your products or your portfolio. And that to me is the number one thing that a product makes a great product manager is not only do you create new revenue streams, you figure out how to do that, but also how to cost reduce so that you can grow your revenue by 20, 30 times without having to grow your cost structure. And that increases the profitability of your entire portfolio. Easy to say, extremely hard to execute. And I tell you, the companies that are experiencing any of these 3 issues or any combination of these 3 issues, they're suffering. Their profitability of not just one product, but their entire portfolio suffers when you have any combination of these issues that a Product Board published. This was pre-COVID-19. Now, same report from Product Board states that 52%, the product managers report that 52% of their teams reporting products and feature ideas that are inspired by customer feedback. So yes, they're collecting the voice of the customer, but in reality, only 1 of 10 of their teams successfully capture the feedback they're getting from customers. 53% of teams report that everyone has a shared understanding of user needs, but only 1 in 3 teams have no process whatsoever to capture that customer feedback. So again, when you're doing everything that you think that you need to do to cover that, but you don't have a way to capture that and then figure out how to keep that in mind whenever you need to prioritize what to do, what not to do, you're not going to be able to really hone in on the things that customers really want. Not only that, but I think in the last 20 years, I would say, 21st century has really taught us that as agile was, emerging, has now accelerated adoption in a lot of software and technology companies. It really has made the role of product management, I think, one that continuously has to be evolved over time. And what I see is that many organizations don't figure out how to grow the actual function or even grow the skills and the number of people in product management. And when I say product management, it includes both product management and product marketing, because this is impacting both product management, but also product marketing as well. And so when everybody thinks that you need to be a conductor, you're not going to be very good if you are a one-man band and you're the conductor, the player, the singer, the dancer. Not very effective to do that, especially if you have lots of customers to satisfy. So under-resourcing is the number 1 issue. Number 2 issue is when you have very little clarity between what you do as a product manager compared to a product owner, compared to a product marketing manager, or anybody else who has product in front of their title, right? Because all of these people may be all in the same organization and nobody knows who's doing what to whom and at what time. And even though you may see clarity of these roles, nobody knows who's the expert, who's doing the project management piece, who's collecting the voice of the customer. How are you actually going to communicate that effectively to everybody else who needs that in order to make the right decisions at the right time, to make the right priorities based on that feedback? This is all the things that I think is confusing. And this is, has accelerated. This confusion has nothing but accelerated as Agile has gained adoption. Because in a different survey report that was done fairly recently as well from other vendors, it shows that most product managers today are way too tactical, and that comes in different ways. Being too tactical means that you're not just a product manager, you're also a product owner. Oh, and by the way, you're also responsible for collecting the voice of the customer. That to me are 3 different roles, right? One role collects the voice of the customer and makes sure that that's clearly communicated across everyone who needs that information to make priority calls for your entire portfolio, not just one product, but all the products that those customers are buying. And that's in itself a full-time job in many cases. The same thing for product ownership. Product ownership, you're leading development teams, and that's all you do day in, day out. And you don't have any more time to be doing anything else. And then there's the strategic product management side, which is about looking at, well, this is what we're doing today. What are we going to do for where the market is going, 18 months from now? And what are the things that we need to get started on today in order to prepare for the way that we are seeing the market shifting 18 months or longer from now? That's not just about putting things or adding things to your product roadmap. It's also about making sure that you're preparing to do all the hard things that right now appear impossible because everybody is focused on the things that you're delivering for the next 6 months. So these are all the things that you want to be able to do. A different study that was actually done in 2019. And by the way, if you have any questions, you can go ahead and type them on the Q&A. And if you can, just mute yourself. So, if you have any questions, you go ahead and type them into the chat. We are going to have a Q&A just in case those of you who are just joining. but also a different survey that was done and published in April of 2019 by the 280 group breaks down the different skill sets that make up product management. And it doesn't include just domain expertise across maybe multiple technical domains of expertise, because that's what everybody focuses on. It also includes other things like strategy, understanding how to conduct and perform market research, how to actually do competitive analysis, how to do the pricing of products, forecasting, end of life, business skills, technical domain expertise, marketing and launch of products, gathering requirements, customer understanding buyer behavior, understanding customers, ensure that you have a suitable, sustainable product management process that everyone is following. Everybody that is doing product management follows the same process no matter what products they're managing. The way you communicate inside and outside the organization, how you manage your management skills and your leadership skills. And this report graded from 1 to 10, 10 being the highest, 1 being the lowest. And this is the average across all these 15 domains published. And again, when they surveyed close to 1,000 product managers, from executives to directors to senior managers and other product managers across industries, across product categories. This is the most, I would say, the broadest type of survey that says this is what product managers in any organizations must be great at. So if you look at the average, it says on the average, you want your entire team to be at 6.6 or above across all 15 of these skills. And look what happened. Most of them, they found clearly that there's leadership on 3, but 3 of them that are deficiencies across any product team they surveyed. And here's the weaknesses. People don't know how to retire products. They just don't, because nobody wants to retire any product. And sometimes when you get into trouble like this particular factors that just happened, you got to focus. You only keep your best-selling products and you kill every single thing. And then you figure out what else are you going to do next to try to regrow your product portfolio. If you haven't done end of life, there's a lot of wrong ways to retire products that end up with angry customers. And you don't want to do that, because they'll walk away from you. They'll go to your competitor and they won't come back. If you're in a B2B environment, you're a B2B vendor, you know what I'm talking about. Competitive analysis, deficiencies in understanding who are your closest competitors and who are the new competitors that have just entered the market, and why you need to now track all of them at the same time. And then pricing of products, whether it's pricing of new products or making pricing adjustments to current products that you're continuing to improve. And now a product has become a product line. And now you need to make sure you price those different versions of the same product differently. These are deficiencies across product management teams. Not just one company, all the companies that were surveyed, these are the deficiencies. So if you really want to work at becoming great and maybe even getting promoted into the next level, whatever level you're at today as a product manager, I would focus on building these 3 skills. Understand the process by which you are going to be withdrawing products from market. How do you actually do competitive analysis in a way that makes sense, that allows you to figure out how you prioritize and how it changes your priorities based on your competitors. And competitors, in many cases, when you're a multinational corporation that is selling across markets, competition changes by market. Your competition in North America is completely different than your competition in Europe, different than your competition in Middle East or anywhere else in the world where you're selling your products. And you need to do this by region. Pricing, same thing. The pricing for the product is not the same everywhere, even when you are an online product. This is where I see a lot of these companies making mistakes, and you don't really know that Amazon.com is the leader right now, right? The same SKU that I'm looking at here in North America, I'm seeing the prices for North American customers. If I look at the same item, same day, and I'm in a different world, or if I'm, using a virtual private network to come appear like I'm actually coming in from Europe, and I'm looking at the same item on the Amazon website, guess what? I see different prices. And the pricing is not just based on the currency exchange. It's based on demand of that particular product in that region when I'm looking for that product. And pricing for Amazon items that are bestsellers, they are changing on a daily basis based on demand. You can only do this pricing adjustments based on demand when you know ahead of time how your demand changes over time. And that's the hard work. So all of these things can become very complicated, especially when you're trying to figure out how to get your product to become more profitable. Experts are saying that just a 1% improvement on pricing in the right improvement in the right direction for one product can equate to growing your profitability for that product by at least 10%, if not more. A 1% price change, price adjustment on a product based on demand can improve its profitability by at least 10%, if not more. So why do you have to understand pricing as a product manager? Because if you want to become a great product manager, you got to make your product more profitable. It doesn't mean to always sell more to the same customers. It means you adjust your pricing based on what you know, demand, and when it happens, even when there's seasonality in demand. If you understand what I'm talking about, you know what this is all about. So these are the 3 skills that I think I needed. These are the strengths, right? So the strengths are the domain expertise. Well, no big deal, because everybody's a domain expert when it comes to product management, because that's how we're hired. People, I see job descriptions of people that are looking for AI and machine learning, and they want 10 years of experience. Well, guess what? How many people were involved in doing AI and machine learning that are greater than 10 years? They certainly, if you're a researcher, you may have worked in AI and machine learning 10, 15 years ago, but not in a commercial environment. Those are completely different things. And that's where I see most organizations focus on this, and this is what they get. Lots of domain expertise, but not necessarily the right skills to actually figure out how to launch a product that becomes profitable when they launch into any market they launch into. There's a lot of business knowledge, a lot of business skills required to do that right, even when you have the product done. So weaknesses again, and I want to kind of move a little bit faster because I want to talk about these are again all pre-COVID-19 kind of things, right? So there's a whole host of things that, say, not enough process, not enough skill sets, at least. And the perception is most executives believe they don't really have the expertise they need when they need to get something done that is something new, because they really think that their product managers are average or below average where they need to be to actually be successful in whatever they need to do. And that's what came out of these studies that you've seen, whether you're looking at any McKinsey report, a survey report, any Bain report on product management, any other vendors that I'm mentioning here, they're all saying the same thing. And this has been for the last 5 years pre-COVID-19. That's a summary of all these things. But there's also a deficiency in process and the tools. And there's a lot of new tools nowadays, and we're going to talk about some of these newer tools that are 21st century product management tools. These are not tools for developers. These are not tools for testers or customer support. These are product management tools, and these are 21st century tools that you need to be good at understanding, because they will help you become better, do more with the same, as long as you train your people on how to use these tools effectively when your team is your product managers within the company. So that you can, if you grow your people, grow your processes, and processes includes not just the systems, but also the tools that they're using. Apply those across your entire portfolio, and over time, your entire portfolio becomes more profitable. And some of the decisions being made here in product is which products are you going to continue to sell and continue to improve, and which ones need to be killed because they just are not going to achieve what you thought you were, and you need to remove them and then bring in new products. And that's an ongoing dynamics. At any one time, you're defending your best-selling products and continue to improve them. You're picking one or two that you can improve because that's where the market is going. And then you're pruning your portfolio. You need to get all your dog products off of your portfolio, and that is ongoing pruning. If you prune your portfolio, likely is that your product managers do know how to do end of life, how to withdraw products from the market, because I'm talking about these are all launch products, and killing products is part of a organization, part of the process within any organization that is focused on improving the profitability of their entire portfolio. So let's talk about now trends for things that we thought were just momentary, but they're really going to take the rest of this year and maybe the next 3 to 5 years as we are in recovery mode within organizations. These are 8 things that I come up with, and I'm going to go through each one of these in more detail. But in skills, you got to focus on increasing where you know the obvious does of where are your weaknesses as a product manager. And that is becoming more customer focused by really understanding how to conduct market research to actually understand buyer behavior, be able to track it, be able to forecast it, anticipate, and get to the point where you can predict demand for products in your portfolio. Easy to say, hard to execute, because there's a lot of work to be done if you have ever done that. So better customer focus means you need to get much better at understanding buyer behavior and conducting market research. Number 2, business building skills. This means you need to get great at developing new business models that lead to not just new products, but new revenue streams and new types of revenue streams in order for your product portfolio to continue to become not just grow revenue, but become more profitable. You want to focus on the right products to bring in at the right time that are going to have the right type of demand that will allow you to scale your entire business model. And it's not your current business model. It needs to be a new business model. Number 3, best-in-class process, which means you have to have a product management process that somebody is focused on improving, killing anything that is no longer adding value, and maybe adding new things as the role of product management changes. Because if there's one constant thing about product management is that change happens. And if you play this right, this is your job security. If you love being in product management, you know the role changes, make sure you grow your skills to where the changes are going to be occurring next. Number 4, be sure to start adopting, be an early adopter of new and the leading product management software tools. We're going to talk about some of them later on today. And then trends, just become a great business builder. We're going to talk about what business building means. Focus on where technology trends are going. That is people centricity, location independence, and resilient delivery. We're going to talk about what those things mean as well. Just wanted to give you a snapshot. We'll come back to those and we're going to cover each one. So I want to go back and talk about how do you go about becoming a better customer focus. So we talked about the deficiencies, right? Competitive analysis, strategy, business skills, and business skills now becomes business building skills, which means you have to know how to architect a business from the start, not just build new products, but architect a business model that will support the new product that at some point in the future, you're going to be looking to introduce to market, and start working on the business model earlier than when you start building the product that you want to launch into market. You know why? Because it usually takes longer to evolve your business model compared to how long it will take for you to build the actual new product that you're thinking. And it has nothing to do, I've just been there, done that. I've seen that movie before. And I know what happens when I have a great product that I know at some point I was gauging my customers all along. I launched, and guess what? I didn't have the right distribution channels in place, or I didn't have the right suppliers that could scale demand to meet with the demand that I saw, because I underestimated demand. These are all different things that happen when you don't do things right in evolving your business model before you actually launch the product. And business building is a top priority. So what do I mean by business building? Business building means that I'm actually evolving the business model to grow new revenue streams in preparation to launch new products that I don't have in my product portfolio today. And it's going to meet the seismic changes of customer expectations that I can't meet today with my legacy products and my legacy business model. And it's transformation at the very least to do all three of those. To do effective business building, you need to implement business transformation, which means grow your people, improve your processes, apply those processes to your entire portfolio, and then figure out how your business model is going to be built in preparation for launching new products that you're ready to launch once they're done, and once you know that you've gotten great feedback about the needs of customers. Some of the skill sets that I mentioned, here's what business building skills need. Becoming a customer advocate by discovering new customer segments and validate them before you proceed to build anything. Number two, start designing business models before you begin building a new product. Number three, pricing the product even when the product is still a concept to see what kind of revenue streams are you going to be able to implement. Number four, estimate cost structures and forecast demand. If you ever worked on a business case, these are the things that you do when you have to do a business case. And this is done during the concept stage. You don't have a product. You have a concept about a product that you want to build. You want to make sure that there's going to be ROI. You need to have accurate estimate of costs and also accurate forecasting, better forecasting on demand, and then pricing, even when the product is still a concept. So you see how those three skills that are weaknesses are also needed for business building? If you grow these three skills I spoke about earlier that are currently deficiencies across teams, you become a better business builder, not just a better product manager, a better business builder. And we're going to talk about all the different companies like McKinsey are saying business building is the way of the future for most current large companies today, no matter where you are in the world. It's not just one industry. It's not just one type of product. It's many products, many industries. This is a global trend. And you need to figure out how to upgrade your skills to be a great business builder, not just a great product manager, be a great business builder. Competitive intelligence, portfolio management. And again, portfolio is about figuring out which products you're going to continue to defend in the marketplace, which ones you're going to improve, and which ones you need to just prune from your portfolio because you're just wasting time and wasting resources and funding. And you're better off allocating those funds and those resources to products that are going to be achieving what you want to achieve in the marketplace as an organization. And again, financial statements are typical when you're putting together a business case. Financial analysis is another deficiency that you need to build, at least understand how to read a company's balance sheet, an income statement, and cash flow statement. Process that makes sure that you have ways of how you're going to treat ideas and concepts and how you're going to validate those concepts against prospects, even before you move on to implementation of those products. And even here is where you start building your new business model. And you want to make sure that you understand all the things that are missing today from your current organization in order to implement that new business model needed to before you actually move that product into development. And then finally, figure out when and how to retire products that are just not achieving what you thought they were. And they're there. I can guarantee you, if you haven't done this, you're going to have to do this. If you haven't already done it, you're going to have to do it very quickly, especially when the economy downsizes. You have to downsize your portfolio, and that means you've got to retire all those dog products in your portfolio and figure out how to continue doing that maintenance, pruning over time of your entire portfolio. Deliverables are all of these things by phase. So that's part of having the process, having clarity as to who's working and conceive and what deliverables get done and who else contributes to these deliverables that are product management deliverables. From the market needs to business case to other things, not just the roadmap, not just the requirements. There's other things that are needed. These are product management deliverables. And then look for the best tools that allow you to become more productive across any of these things that come where, depending on where in the product lifecycle you are working in. Here's some of the top tools. This is from G2. If you guys are familiar with G2, it's basically a site that lists all sorts of different tools. And this is with their grid when it comes to product management software tools. And these are the top 10 software tools. There's one common denominator across these tools. Number one, these are all tools that were not available 20 years ago. So at the beginning of the 21st century, these were just startups. Today, 20 years later, these are the leading product management tools. They're not for developers. They're not for testers. They're not for customer service. These are specific tools for product managers. And these are newer tools. And these are the ones that you can see. If you're using some, you may be using Jira for development because Jira has an add-on module that you need to license separate from the basic development product in order for this to work for product management. It's not just the off-the-shelf Jira, which is mostly a development tool. This is Jira for product management module turned on. It's an add-on, so don't get confused. Without that add-on, Jira is just still a development tool for the most part. These are other tools that you can use for anything from putting together roadmaps to putting together an actual swim lanes for not just one product, but your entire portfolio, so that you can actually start looking at how to do resource allocation the right way. And then finally, I mentioned earlier that changing processes, it requires business transformation. Well, guess what? In order for you to actually become a better business builder, any business building tasks that need to be done means that you need to transform the business itself, because it's actually a business within a business. So now you need to have a holding company that does the Google or Alphabet thing where you're adding business units for specific product portfolios. As you're expanding your portfolio, you add on a new business unit specifically dedicated for that portfolio, and that portfolio has a dedicated product management team working on figuring out how to make that product portfolio more profitable over time and make sure their business model is scalable to begin with, and that they can quickly introduce something that has a high product to market fit, gets lots of adoption, and then builds revenue and becomes profitable very quickly. Within 3 or 5 years of actually launching this business unit, that's when everybody's looking. That's what business building means. So it means that you're really starting like, even if you're working for a large company, you're launching a startup under that large company that ends up being the holding company. And then you're leveraging resources, tools, funding. Of course, if your parent company has deficiencies in product management, you want to make sure that those deficiencies do not exist in order for your new business unit to be scalable. So sometimes you need to be aware about the deficiencies, the weaknesses in your own parent company, because you might need to remove those deficiencies. If any of these things that I talk about are weaknesses, are in fact weaknesses today in your legacy parent company. Here are technology trends. The last 3 points that I made. Business building. Well, you say business building, but for what type of product? Well, here's the answer. This is a Gartner report that was published in December of 2020. And I can point you actually on the post-event page. I'm going to give you a link where you can read this entire document that is available from Gartner that talks about 3 domains for technology and software companies that are going to be in growth mode. I mean, they're going to be emerging in the next 5 years, not just this year. It's between now and 2025. This includes people centricity, meaning you can be on Internet of Behaviors to track behavior of either buyers and users or any combination of that, and doing things like facial recognition, biometric collection, location-based information that you're collecting about your users and buyers to improve the experience, but also figure out what are they really looking for and what can you sell to them next. Total experience strategy and privacy enhancing computing, meaning seamless privacy, not the kind of privacy that you're seeing that's bolt-on privacy that ends up making the experience more awkward. That is all part of people centricity. And each one of these settings is going to be multiple vendors, not just one. This is an entire new industries that are emerging that have to do with people centricity. Location independence, meaning now you're going to have a lot more companies working virtually or remotely across markets. And I've been in many of these already, even before then, mostly technology software companies, because I've been working for even mid-market companies. These are companies that are not very big, they're medium-sized companies that I've had to manage developers across any side of the world, from Southeast Asia to Eastern Europe to Europe, and multiple locations in North America. And I'm the manager of the products that these developers are supporting. Location independence is going to be the way of the future for more and more companies, not just for technology and software companies. And they're going to need distributed cloud solutions. They're going to need to have a way to manage operations from anywhere using any device, not just executives, but everyone who is managing teams that are geographically dispersed. And ensuring that you have the proper cybersecurity mesh to secure communications when these are all private communications between employees within the company, or maybe private communications between company employees, workers, and your customers and suppliers and other entities that you need to make sure those are properly secure. So doing this, again, it's a completely set of new industries that are going to be emerging in the next 5 years. And then finally, resilient delivery. Well, what is that? Well, this is companies that are moving towards basically being the next set of companies that give a lot more work to companies like FedEx, UPS, DHL, and all those that have to deliver, because now you need to have intelligent, composable businesses. That means that as something happens in one market, you can move your headquarters from one region to another very quickly, because it's a matter of switching connections. And now you can still operate seamlessly, even if something happens and you have disruption in that entire market, and now you need to go and operate out of somewhere and still maintain your business operating the right way. This is to avoid or eliminate any kind of supply chain disruption or even distribution channel disruption, not just within your company, but also those that you depend on to either sell more or to actually be able to have the right input so you can deliver according to your customer expectations. And then AI, everything is going towards augmented, because everything is going to be aided by artificial intelligence or machine learning or both. And that's what this is all about. And there's a huge already number of AI startups that have been growing, and a lot of acquisition of AI startups today because of this. But then also hyper automation, everything from industrial automation for manufacturing environments to automation of work environments to adjust your lighting automatically, adjust the mood. All those things are going to be things that are going to be about resilient delivery. When these things have to move as your workers are moving, and the majority of your workers are geographically dispersed. These are growing industries, emerging industries in the next 5 years, according to Gartner. The common denominator is these are all technology and or software companies. And yes, they will need lots of product managers, but these are not going to be the conventional legacy business model product managers. These are going to be the new breed of product managers that I'm talking about. So if you're working on your business building skills, you can go into, you have a choice. You can either stay into companies, large companies in your industries today that are looking to build new business models, because they will need to build those startups and hire people that have the right business building skills. That's choice number one. Or you can move into any of these emerging industries. And often, this is how you can really accelerate your career. You're prepared with the right skills at the right time, and you're going after the right companies that are set to grow much quicker compared to legacy industries. So that's in a nutshell a wrap. Before we get into Q&A, I just want to go real quick. Bold PM Academy is something that I started last year. It's a series of live online workshops for those of you who are looking to upgrade your product management and leadership skills. It's a way for you to get very quickly based on your needs. Either you're updating your product management skills, about the tools, about best practices, anything that you need. And we're going to be introducing so that you can grow any of those 15 different skill sets. If that's what you need over time, you can do this a la carte if you want. Or you can also be growing your leadership skills. And leadership skills include things like your communication style and making sure that you understand how to lead teams and empower others to move quickly when you need to. More information is available at this short URL at the bottom of the slide. I'm going to be sharing this via the chat during the Q&A, and then we can proceed on with that if you're interested. Here's the next upcoming workshop. This is coming up in March, and I'm going to focus specifically on all these business building skills that I spoke about and how you can actually understand a process by which you can become a great business builder within any organization as a product manager. So if you're interested in this one, let me know, because I will be sharing in that page. There's already a page where you can actually go and sign up. And I'm actually right now, you can be an early one and join the wait list. And we can tell you once we're launching, you can actually sign up and then attend. It's a 2 hours, and we do the same thing. We record everything and make the whole thing available, slides, video, all those things available in a post-event page, so that you can actually use this, when you are ready to start using them within your organization. Any additional things that you would like for me to add? If you don't see them on the Bold PM Academy, just feel free to send me feedback on the page, or you can also send me an email, as simple as that. And I'll be sharing this information also, so that you don't have to copy it. I'll be sharing that with you. Feel free to email me or connect with me on LinkedIn. This is a short URL to my LinkedIn profile. Follow me on Twitter. And we're now ready for questions. Steve, I wasn't really sure were there any questions on the chat? I wasn't really sure if there were any questions or not. So I think Steve had to leave. Are there any questions from those of you who are still here? I wanted to make sure that at least I gave you a chance. You can either unmute yourselves and ask the question, or you can type them into the chat and then just let me know. And in the meantime, I'll be sharing this information so you have it how to get a hold of me so that we can actually be doing this in here. Any questions?
Hey, Hector. Thanks for the presentation. That was really insightful. Unfortunately, I missed part of the presentation. Are you going to share the slides?
Yes, I will be. So one of the things that I do normally for any time that I do my talks is I will send you a link to a post-event page, and that page will contain the entire slides, all the slides that I showed, so you can view. It will include a video, and that's why we're recording these particular meetups. It will include that information as well, and additional, for further reading links you can follow with a lot of references that I speak about here. You can actually just take a deeper dive if you want to. All of that will be contained in the post-event page. I will send you a link after tonight's live session.
Perfect, thanks.
Any other questions? I wasn't really sure if anybody has a different perspective on the future of product management and where the skill sets are bound to change because of what most people are saying and what just happened post COVID-19, or even a different idea of what emerging industries are going to be there in the next 3 to 5 years. So I mentioned the Bolt PM Academy is ongoing. I'm looking to add, and I'll be actually announcing additional live online workshops that will be conducted in the next couple of months. And I'll probably have those updates in the next week or two, and I'll be implementing those as we go. And I'm going to be sharing the URL to that Bolt PM Academy page. And if you see any topics that are coming soon that you're interested in, just let me know. Or if you have other topics that you're interested in and you want us to add them to the schedule in the next 2 or 3 months, let me know, because I'm actually working on ensuring that we put all the critical product management skills, and I'm focusing on where I know the weaknesses are within most product management teams, and allowing you a chance to build those skills so that you can actually start using them within your organization and be sort of like an early adopter of those skill sets that are going to be needed within different organizations. Well, if there's any more questions, no more questions, what I would like to do is at least, want to thank you all and kind of wrap this up. And once again, I will be sending a link to with a post-event page that will have the slides, the video, and other content available. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. And also hope that you guys can become members of the ProductCamp meetup. I mentioned earlier that we already have posted our entire schedule in our meetup page, and I'm going to be showing that. Here's the schedule. So we're meeting on the second Thursday of each month, same time, same channel, and all you need to do is sign up. And once you sign up, you'll get a Zoom link that we'll be using for each and every one of these meetups. And we're expecting that the majority of these will be virtual, maybe a few towards the second half or the last quarter of this year, maybe hybrid, as we are starting to now slowly go back into in-person meetups as well. But for right now, for the next few months, we're going to be virtual. And if you know of any other product managers that are interested in attending these type of things, feel free to invite them, because I think there's an opportunity to, you don't have to be necessarily near us in the DC metro area. You can attend from anywhere as long as you know that you can attend the meetings on the scheduled time. And then we record everything anyway, so we make it available post-event as well to anyone who signs up. So with that, I would like to thank all of you for attending. Thanks so much for attending, and we hope to see you again next month. That'll be March 11th. And be on the lookout, because we are going to be filling in the topic and the speaker I will be working with Steve Johnson to make sure that we fill that in. That'll be coming in the next few weeks or so, and hope to see you again next month. March 11th will be the next date. And thank you so much for attending today, and hope to see you again. Stay safe and healthy.